Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is mainly about the reason why people fail when it comes to fish pond or koi pond keeping. So our videos seem to have become quite popular over the last few months. I think mainly because we like to say how it is and we get straight to the point. And also, you know, some people may take offense to what we say. But to be honest, if it was me, if I was doing something wrong, I'd much prefer to be told so I can learn and do it the right way. So again, we speak on what the fish need, what they require, rather than what people like to have in a pond because it looks nice, or it makes them feel better about themselves, or whatever the reason might be. So remember, it's about the fish, not what the people want. So there's lots of funny old strategies and pond keeping ways out there, and inevitably when things go wrong, people always tend to blame the fish, which I find quite frustrating because fish, especially koi carp in particular, are very sophisticated animals, and it actually takes quite a lot to kill them. People do it quite easily, but they always tend to blame the fish when actually it's the fish keeper's fault from the start. Okay, so this video is a little bit more towards the koi people. I'm not trying to just pick on you, but we are just being factual, and you guys tend to do this quite a lot. So not all of you, but majority of the pond koi keeping people out there tend to do this quite regularly. So basically there's one word that sums everything up, and this is the reason why most people fail when it comes to koi keeping or just keeping any fish in any pond or even in a fish tank or similar. So the main reason, or the word that lots of people don't seem to understand, is called ecosystem. So if you can get an ecosystem going in your pond or fish tank or whatever it may be, to be honest, you're pretty much there. Nature will do most of the work for you, and all you need to do is just maintain that. So from the dictionary now, so ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. Now I know there's many lovely koi ponds out there which are like an ecosystem and thriving and everything's doing well, but let's just face it, majority of them are basically just a square box with water with a few fish, and nothing else. Very sterile like environment. So I've been thinking about it, like I've been scratching my head, where did it all go wrong? At what point do we think that it's acceptable to keep fish in a box of nothing? You don't do that to any other animal. Even a goldfish you win at the fair gets more respect than that. He doesn't just get given a glass bowl. Majority of the time you go to a pet shop and you'll buy some substrates or some plants or whatever, and at least try to make it a little bit more natural for the fish. Now I've sold over the years hundreds of aquariums, and not one of them have we ever sold where the customers just bought a glass tank, some filters and some fish, because that's effectively all it is. I mean, have you ever seen someone's living room with a glass tank, fish, water and nothing else in it? So let's be realistic. So, you know, if you do buy a fish tank, what's the first thing you do? You buy like sand, plants, all sorts of other stuff, you know, decorative things to make, you know, little tunnels and things for the fish to go in. But koi carp, for instance, I don't know what's happened, but we build these lovely ponds, you know, construction wise, awesome filter wise, everything else, but then we just do not do anything else to it. Personally, I'm not a fan of zoos, but even some of the rubbish zoos out there, you know, they still try and give the animals some sort of an environment that's as natural to their actual home environment as possible, just to keep them happy and healthy. Koi carp, we're like, nah, just chuck them in the pond, nothing in there, that'd be absolutely fine. And then we wonder, like, why these things happen to them, why are they getting all these parasites and everything else. I mean, it's the same thing with any animal. If you keep them in a sterile environment, they're going to be prone to all sorts of things should something come along, because their immune system will be rubbish and they will not be used to it and won't be able to fend anything off. Okay, so some of you might be sitting there, well, okay, fine, if I need to make my pond a little bit more natural, what am I supposed to do? Just keep them in a muddy pond where I can't see my fish? And no, it's not exactly what I'm saying at all. Now, one of the easiest ways you can naturalize any pond is simply by adding plants. Plants are amazing to have in any pond or water body. They're so beneficial for the fish. The amount of sort of animals and other insects that live in the plants that the fish can naturally eat. And one of the big ones is they use up phosphates and nitrates in the water. It really makes me laugh. I mean, you could go to any koi boffin out there and you'd be like, oh, can you tell me about the nitrogen cycle? And pretty much guarantee you every single body knows what it is to the T. So everyone knows after all the food's broken down, the toxic ammonia is broken down, you end up with nutrients, which are nitrates. But instead of just adding plants to it, the simplest of all solutions, we go, no, we'll get a trickle filter, we'll chuck loads of chemicals in there to do that, we'll just keep changing the water, you know, all this lovely water that's matured, you just throw it away and replace, because you think that's the right thing to do. Now, I know a lot of you be thinking, oh, I thought you couldn't keep koi with plants, and like, trust me, you can. Koi will actually live in ponds with plants, and by the way, that's what they do naturally. So the problem you have with koi and plants is koi are carp, and the way they feed naturally is they'll go down to the bottom of the pond, sift up a load of silt into the gills, they sift it through, and they take all the food out and they spit the silt out the back of the gills. So they are just looking for food, they're not trying to eat your plants, although some of them may have a little nibble, but generally speaking they're trying to get into the soil to try and find food. So I'll do a video on how you can fish proof your pots so the fish can't get into the soil, but generally speaking you just use common sense. If you can create something where the fish can't actually get to the soil, then obviously you can keep plants. So one easy way is if you're going to build a pond, now this is the problem most koi people don't have, because for some reason when they build a pond they don't put shelves in. So if you're going to have a if you're going to build a pond and you'd like to have some plants in, and you want to have koi and you also don't want the koi to get to the plants, just think about it. If your pond basket is 12 inches deep, perhaps build the shelf about 12 inches deep so the koi can't actually get into the plants, but however you still get the benefit of what the plants do naturally to the water. You can even get small floating pond baskets where you can have small low-lying plants, so you can even get larger ones if you wanted to, which will also help to sort of naturalize your pond. Now, another way you can also introduce plants into your pond if you don't want plants in your pond. So you may have heard of it before, just a vegetable filter. If you don't know what that is, basically you have your main pond, pumps the water to a filter system. From the filter system I go into like another smaller pond, which is basically got all your plants in, and then that water then goes back into your main pond. So technically it's one whole system, but the water's going to like a treatment plant with all the plants in to get to have all the nutrients and nitrates and everything else removed. Then obviously the water goes back into the main pond. So you basically just have a section full of plants, and then you can keep the plants out of the main pond where all the fish live. Great way of doing it. Really good, and helps keep the nitrates down. Think about it, you can still have lovely clear water, you still have all your filters, they can still do their thing, you can still do your thing with your bottom drains and all the rest if you wanted to, but it's just a way of incorporating plants into the pond. The great thing is if you can get the balance right of an ecosystem in your pond, you know, you'll never need to do a water change again, just top up the evaporation. All these you know, silly little systems that trickle in, trickle out, they can just throw those in the dustbin. Most importantly, your fish's health will massively improve. So I've bang on about it all the time, you need to keep your water quality perfect to keep fish. It's just like our air. If our air was bad, I mean, we'd have all sorts of problems as well. It's the same for fish. So you need to keep that as natural as you can. So many people think you have to have a sterile pond to stop parasites and you can't have any dirt in there. I mean, wow, get a grip. The reason why your fish are struggling with parasites, it is because of your water quality, nothing else. If your water quality isn't great, your fish become stressed. Stressed fish cannot fend off the parasites naturally. Their immune systems drop, and the problem with that, they can turn, an infection of parasites can turn into an infestation of parasites, which can be really detrimental to your fish's health. So again, I bang on about it all the time. You need to keep the water quality good. Most of the time when people have problems with parasites, they may have put too many fish in a brand new pond, or they keep overfeeding and the nitrites are going up and the fish are getting stressed out. Most parasites are secondary infections. First thing is the water quality. Can't say it enough. I mean, also plants look awesome. You know, this is my personal preference. You know, if you didn't want plants, vegetable fields, you don't see them. But if you like plants, I mean, especially in the summer, you've got so much wildlife. You've got so many dragonflies in there. You've got so many little bugs and things in there. The fish are trying to find and feed off. You know, imagine from the fish's point of view underwater. You see all these ponds, there's nothing in them. You must drive the fish absolutely mad, just swimming around in nothing. It must go absolutely insane. And yes, you know, if you have a few plants, you may have a little bit more work to do, because sometimes you need to, you know, cut them back a bit and all the rest of it. But if you want a pond, that's a pond. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, let me know. Like and subscribe if you want to see some more. Thanks for watching.